Trae Jones may have inadvertently just created some speculation that he could be looking to go to the Boston Celtics after his disappointment with no contract extension offer from the Atlanta Hawks as of yet. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Plus, Brian Windhorst predicts Karl-Anthony Towns' extension with the New York Knicks. And Austin Reaves wants how much? We're going to talk about it all and more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything basketball related. I'm the host there, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content today, y'all. And Trae Young has maybe just added to a little bit of speculation around his desire maybe to go to the Boston Celtics. It's really silly when it comes down to it. And it's all about how social media now impacts how players are talked about. But the thing here, the thing that is actually the thing here that we want to talk about, right? Mark J. Spears reported that Trae Young was disappointed that the Atlanta Hawks have not yet offered him a max contract that he's seeking ahead of the start of next season. This is what Trae Young is reportedly seeking when it comes down to it. We know that he is eligible for one of those huge contract extension if he does sign a 4-year extension. And with that said, and in the midst of that speculation, Trae Young actually liked a tweet and post of him being in a Boston Celtics uniform. Now, is that something really tangible? No, it's not. But the thing that I think is here and that is worth a conversation is that how do the Hawks view Trae Young in the future of him being with that franchise? Is it that they view him as a key piece because he is still the initiator of the offense? You look at his assists per game, they've gone up every year over the last 3 years as that team has improved the talent around him that can do more. He's adapted to that, and he's still very much right now the engine of the offense for the Atlanta Hawks. But the question is, with so many new young pieces and possibly a new young future with that team, and Dyson Daniels, Jalen Johnson, Asa Newell who came in there as well, Zachary Reeves, right? Is it a place where the Hawks could be waiting to put the chips in there to really see if they may need to pivot with this? Trae Young is a good player, right? And I think he's really good at what he does. I think he's a really good facilitator. I do think personally that Trae Young's reputation as a shooter does not match up with what you always see as the eye test. For example, Trae Young shot 34% from three last year, taking 8.4 three-pointers per game. He shot 37% the year before that, 33% the year before that, 38% the year before that. He's really inconsistent with his three-point shooting percentage. And I think that he has this moniker or this reputation of being like a knockdown shooter, and he really has not been that, not consistently in his NBA career up until this point. Now, he can absolutely go off. We've seen him torch the New York Knicks. It's no doubt that Trae Young can absolutely get hot and scorch a team from three. We got to be clear here. Like, he's a career 43% shooter from the field, a career 35% shooter from three, and that's not numbers that you're looking at and you're saying that that's one of the best shooters in the NBA. Now, he's other than his rookie year, he's averaged over 20 points per game every single year from that. So he can still fill it up. He can score. And I think as he's grown as a facilitator, 3 straight years of averaging over 10 assists per game, and then 3 more years other than that, averaging 9 a game. I think when you look at Trae Young, one of the things, especially as this team increases, is that you need to see Trae Young continually grow as a facilitator. I think that's the first thing that he has to do is grow as a facilitator. If he grows as that facilitator and the other talent around him, that's going to maximize that talent. It's going to put them in better positions. And that may be something that the Atlanta Hawks are looking at when it comes down to this. He's still more than likely going to get his extension, and he's more than likely going to get the max. The question is that when you see a lot of teams around the NBA now being a lot more intentional about how they use their max contracts, how they use those huge contracts, of course, that's going to play a part in this as well. Now, Trae has a player option for the 2026-27 season at $48 million. And, him and the Atlanta Hawks could agree with him to opt out of that just to re-sign with the team. They can extend that off of that and get and make that year guaranteed and keep it going from there. There's a lot of different options there. I think a big part of this really does come down to how far this team can go this year. If for some reason the Hawks fail, they get eliminated in the first round, they're a playoff team again, especially after making these moves to kind of make this a better team around what Trae Young lacks at, And there could be a pivot there that could come, that we could see within the next 12 months. Maybe Trae Young moved on. Now, I'm not saying that's the most likely scenario. I still think the most likely thing is that he stays with the Atlanta Hawks. He signs his max level deal, and they'll figure it out. When you already have another player in Jalen Johnson who's going to be making over $30 million for each of the next 5 years, you have Trae Young on a $45 million contract this year, $48 million with the player option next year, and then you start looking at other players that are going to be coming up for contract extensions. You got 3 more years on Zachary Reeves' share before you got to make a decision and extend him, of course. You just drafted Asa Newell at a recent. He's getting paid $3 million, but you're looking at those type of things and trying to figure it out. Dyson Daniels is a restricted free agent at the end of this upcoming year. So all those things play a part into why the Hawks may be a little bit more hesitant. The Boston Celtics aspect of it, I wouldn't read too much into that. I don't think there's too much there. It's not serious enough to worry about that right now, but I do think there is enough to start wondering and asking yourself what the future with Trae Young and the Hawks is going to be. And they could use a lot of what happens this year, especially a year where the East is more open, not wide open, but more open, and them trying to make their move to get and see how far they can go in that Eastern Conference. I think that's going to be a really big part of it, and we'll see how it goes after that. But let me know what you guys think down below. Does Trae Young stay with the Atlanta Hawks on a max level contract extension? And is Trae Young right to be a little bit concerned or to be disappointed that the Hawks have not yet offered him that max level extension? Let me know what you guys think on that down below. With that said, from one player disappointed from not getting a max contract extension offer to another player that Brian Windhorst is predicting could get one, Brian Windhorst talked on the Hoop Collective a little bit about Karl-Anthony Towns and the New York Knicks, and he said this: the Knicks have the option of riding this core out, or their pathway forward is to make a trade. Mikal Bridges got extended this summer. We have not heard anything about Karl-Anthony Towns getting extended, and I don't think it's a commentary on Towns or the season he had. I just think that Towns has 3 years and about $160 million left on his contract. Actually, I think it's more than that. It's $170 million, and there would be some challenge to that. Here's what it comes down to, right? Comes down to Karl-Anthony Towns. And really, this is more about the state of the Knicks than anything with just Karl-Anthony Towns. But when you look at that, the Knicks have doubled down basically on their core, right? They have not made moves. They changed the coach. And this could be a season where they really want to see what this team. They added Karl-Anthony Towns late into the offseason last year, almost before the start of the season. And so you made that move. You also lost Isaiah Hartenstein. You brought in Mikal Bridges. And so now you could be looking at, hey, what's the path forward here? Now, Towns he's locked into the 27-28 season where he does have a player option. So technically he could opt out of that and be done at the end of the 2026-27 season. But with that said, is that the Knicks have definitely committed to this core basically, and they could extend him to lock him in around all the same time. OG Anunoby locked in into 29-30. Same thing for Jalen Brunson. Mikal Bridges goes to the 29-30 season through that season as well. And so it really depends on what the New York Knicks are trying to do. Now, I personally speculated that when Mikal Bridges took a little bit less than his max to maintain under the second tax apron, that was to maintain flexibility if they need to do something with Mitchell Robinson's contract or another player's contract that they want to do something with. But the Karl-Anthony Towns aspect of it is interesting. He's 30 years old now, and he's a player that, I think played well for that New York Knicks team last year. Now, we all know that the shortcomings of Karl-Anthony Towns. It's there. It's been evident. It's been talked about. But, we'll see what happens there. Now, there are further conversation when it comes down to this one. Tim Bontemps said this: I think if Karl-Anthony Towns were to sign an extension, I don't think there have been real discussions of that one way or the other, which I wouldn't take as any sort of negative thing. I think it's much more likely, rather than the Devin Booker route, it's more likely the Rudy Gobert route. Keep in mind, the Timberwolves and Rudy Gobert agreed to a 3-year, $110 million extension this past summer. So, as it stands right now, I think the Knicks are maintaining some flexibility on what they want to do going forward, just like every other team is, especially with the tax bill that is there for those teams. Now, with that said, it was put on a 40% chance that the New York Knicks make a major trade during the season, and the Athletic James Edwards said there's no guarantee the Knicks will look the same by opening night. We'll see what happens there, right? I don't know if the Knicks are fine with this core, and if they are, great. No harm, no foul when it comes down to that. I just don't know how much bringing in Mike Brown as the coach is going to really change the direction of what that team, of the path that team was on, But again, this is an Eastern Conference that is more open. I refuse to use the term wide open. It's more open than what it was before with Boston, not having Tatum. And then on top of that, the Pacers being down. But this is still a East that the top teams are going to be the top teams. I think you can pretty much predict that when it comes to the Knicks. They're probably going to have one of the better records. But the question is that did the Knicks learn something through their playoff run to where they can have a better record over the above 500 teams than what they did last season? That's the part that remains to be seen, and we shall see how that works out. I guess we're talking all extensions all the way around because the last topic of today is also about an extension. Austin Reaves will be an unrestricted free agent next season after he declined the 4-year, $89 million extension offer from the Los Angeles Lakers. And, that was the max that the Lakers can offer at that time. Now, they can offer him more. It is expected that he will re-sign with the Lakers in the summer of 2026. And an executive told ESPN this: I think he'll get $30 million plus. And that's a question that a lot of people have had. Now, you'll know that Jonathan Kuminga, Josh Giddey, these are players that also were trying to get $30 million, and you saw where they are. Now, Austin Reaves is not going to be a restricted free agent, I don't think. And so because of that, the question is that something that the Lakers will give him? Now, I think that the question you also want to ask is that, can you keep Austin Reaves and Luka together? Keep in mind, Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reaves on the court together basically had a negative point differential. They went on a little bit of a run there towards the end of the season that barely got it into the positive, but it was barely. And so are you going to be able to keep Austin Reaves at the money that he wants to get, or are you going to eventually have to trade Austin Reaves to get a player that more so fits with what you need with Luka Doncic out there? And I think that's the question that the Lakers are going to have to ask themselves as they prepare for a contract extension to Austin Reaves. Austin Reaves is a player that, when you look at the way that he built himself up, the way that he's contributed to that team, the way that he stepped up in roles, what he's able to do, is he a flawed player? Yeah, every player is. Every single player in the league is flawed. But Austin Reaves is also somebody who, at 27 years old, is not like he has a whole lot of career. Well, he has a career ahead of him, but he's only been in the league 4 years. So he's older than what you usually expect for a player at this point in time in their careers. And so because of that, Austin Reaves is going to want to get paid and maximize on his earnings as best he can. And that's within his route. You look at how he's increased every single year. 7 points per game as a rookie, 13 points per game the year after that, 16 points per game the year after that. Last year, up to 20 points per game, playing 73 games last season after playing all 82 the year before that. It was also his first year as a full-time starter. He started all the games that he played last season. And so Austin Reaves is a player that you can legitimately talk yourself into commanding that $30 million. Now, is he a two-way player? No, not really. Does he have flaws as far as sometimes with guarding with size and more aggressive players? Yeah, he has those issues, right? And that's the things that the Lakers are going to be trying to monitor and try to weigh in all of this contract talk with Austin Reaves and make that decision. But I think ultimately it really comes down to how aggressive the Lakers want to be in getting the type of player that needs to be around Luka. The answer to that is going to determine whether they hold on to Luka or not long-term, at least in my personal opinion. I mean, not Luka, hold on to Austin Reaves long-term or not, in my personal opinion. I guess we'll see how that shakes out. But that's my time for today, guys. Make sure you guys are following us at NBA Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything basketball related. And I guess I'll see you guys the next time I feel like making a video. Probably tomorrow. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.